to anybody who's watching now or in the future. I know I promised a story, but let's start off by quickly doing a bit of advertising for this series, which I've enjoyed for about as long as it's existed. This is the Hill Climb Racing series, and what it is one stage, a new climb every week, and you have plenty of chances to do it during the week. Only the time on the KOM counts. So we have a very long lead-in today, which I actually kind of like because you don't have to do the warm-up on another course. So this is the Petit KOM, about 2.5 kilometers, hopefully 5 minutes of effort, and this is the zigzag one. You can always, if you want a bit of mnemotechnics, you can remember that after the right hand turns, it's a bit flat, and after the left hand turns, it's steep. So we usually say, turn right, you're all right. Turn left, feel bereft. That's a good way to remember it. And as I said, only the time on the KOM counts. And there are always some people who haven't read the rules, so they zoom off and spend all their watch on the lead-in. So I'm not going to do that today. But I went with a TT bike and 7.8s. Oh, hey Georg and Rob. Yep, Georg, it's the winter time, so just put the hat on until I'm nice and warm. As I was saying, the TT bike today, Petit KOM is flat enough for that. For a lot of sections it doesn't really go above 2 or 3%. So Swifter Bike says that's the fastest way to go. I did the New York KOM reverse yesterday, which was the first race in this series. I'm not sure I'm going to finish it, but it's always fun. You can have a controlled effort, and you know how hard you're going, how long you're going. So that's one of the reasons why I like this series. You can practice different insults. Hey Mark. Nice to see you guys. Anyway, I did promise you a story, and let me just say, I'm not trying to oversell it, but it is a belter. I can't remember how I discovered this guy, but it must have been years ago that I, for some reason, tripped over a memoir written by a Pole, a fellow from Poland. He was born in Poland, trained as a doctor in Poland. He was born in, when was he born? Well, not important. Thanks, Lee. Yeah, I might have oversold it, but hopefully there'll be some bike-related suffering at the end, so hopefully we can all enjoy that. So this guy is called Eugene Sławomir Lazowski, and I apologize to all the Poles out there. I'm probably butchering the pronunciation, and I will be for the remainder of this story. But I can't remember when he was born, but let's just say it's a pretty fascinating story about heroism from the Second World War. He wrote his memoirs when he was about 80, and I've often wondered why nobody's picked up this story and turned it into a movie or some kind of great, I mean, magnum opus, or what you call it, a big important book. But he wrote his own memoirs, and he's a hero. I'll give him that. We'll get back to that. But he's a horrible writer. I mean, you shouldn't let people write their own autobiographies if they can't write. And he can't. I mean, this story is so good, but he's covered it up in mud. It's like taking a gold bar and making it look like a block of wood, or taking a beautiful brand new Pinarello and painting it rust colored. Horrible, horrible what he's done to that story. So many insane anecdotes from his life, both before and during the war, but they're just mixed in with anecdotes about a dog peeing in a restaurant, then he almost gets killed in an avalanche, then he almost gets eaten by wolves, and then a story about a squirrel hiding in a kayak. Just the mundane and the extraordinary just mixed together in unimaginable fashion. But yeah, I've written down some notes here because I can't remember all of it. So if anyone wants to give me an advance for a screenplay, I'll happily write it. Anyway, he entered medical school in 1933. This was of course after World War I. Things were starting very slowly to heat up in Germany. It doesn't say anything about him considering the start of the Nazi Party in Germany, but it will soon come to fruition. A couple of anecdotes from his life to kind of tell you what kind of person he is. Early on in his medical studies, he and his classmates, they were asked to locate the heart of a patient, and they were given a stethoscope, as you know. That's how they do it. But all the other students put the stethoscope on the left side of the chest, listen, yeah, there it is. He tried doing the same, just couldn't hear a heartbeat, and he couldn't bring himself to lie. So he was very embarrassed, and he told the instructor, sorry, I just can't find it. The instructor took a look at him and said, yes, well, one important thing about being a doctor is being honest. And the reason why he couldn't find his heart on the left side is because this patient has a condition where his heart is actually on the right side, switch places with the liver. So we have a very honest gentleman. He's also a very honorable gentleman. He was into fencing, and during a match he injured the other guy, and he didn't want to fight him. So, hey Darren, how are you doing? He didn't want to fight him, so he had his saber point downwards, and the other guy just kept tapping him to score points. And in the end, our friend, Mr. Lazowski, lost the match. And he went over to his dad afterwards, and his dad said, "You're an idiot, son. You can only act like a gentleman in the company of gentlemen." So, an honorable man, if anything. 1939, Germany invades Poland. We have some incredible scenes. I'm imagining a movie, I have to say. He does a 180-kilometer march with some of the other soldiers. He has to get to a military hospital. Thousands of Poles are marching east to escape the German invasion. So he's driving through burning cities. He finds a jar of sherry liquor in a burned out house. You know, all the stuff you see in war movies. At one point he's on a hospital train. German planes attack the train. Bombs flying left and right. At some point they stop the train and he goes out to forage for some food. When he gets back, he finds out that the German bombers have absolutely obliterated the train car that he was in. So if he hadn't gone out to scavenge food, he probably wouldn't have survived. A bunch of insane near-death situations like that. He was close enough to be covered by debris from some bombs. A bullet hit his camera while it was hanging around his neck. He was captured by the Russian army, escaped by jumping out of a moving train. He scaled a wall of a prison to escape a POW camp. I mean, if it's been in any war movie, this guy's done it in real life. Tom Cruise has to be envious of this guy. I hope you can hear me. Oh yeah, some of you can anyway. Sorry, let me just get a spin out. Get the legs working a bit. I usually like to hit 115, 120 for a while, just to get the legs working when I warm up for these. Anyway, he finishes his medical training. The Germans have now occupied most of Poland, so he works as a doctor, but he also does underground work to treat Jews and to help the Polish resistance in different ways. For example, at one point, some German soldiers approach this Dr. Lazowski, and they brought a baby, and he knows what they're up to. So he makes a big show of examining this baby and, you know, days of phrenology and all that. So he measures the baby's skull and pretends to look in one of his medical books, and he then tells the German soldiers that yes, this baby is of Aryan descent. So they bring the baby to the town hall, and about 30 years later he finds out that the baby had survived and moved to Israel by then. Now, this is the main arc of the story. During the occupation, he started seeing some cases of typhoid. Not a pleasant thing if you're not inoculated. You know, symptoms like red rashes, and but the way to make sure if someone has typhoid or not, you take a blood test and you check for something called the Weil-Felix reaction. And I'm not a medical scientist, so please correct me. But you put the blood through this test to see if it's positive for typhoid. And the Nazis were majorly concerned about typhoid, mainly because they were afraid of Poles or Jews spreading typhoid to German cities, where they used them as slave labor. So they didn't much care for typhoid. And so one of his doctor colleagues sets up a small lab in a cottage, and in some ingenious way with a heater he finds out a way to perform this Weil-Felix reaction without the Germans knowing. So they can privately and quickly test the blood of their patients to see if they have typhoid. And at some point, this doctor colleague called Stasiak, he finds out, he has the thought that if you inject some typhoid infected serum into the muscle instead of the bloodstream, you could provoke a positive response to the Weil-Felix test. So you could actually make someone test positive for typhoid without them actually having the disease. So that got our friend Lazowski thinking, wow, we could, if we teach our patients how to fake the typhoid symptoms and we have the blood work to prove that they're infected, maybe the Germans could leave them alone. So that's what they did. Lazowski and Stasiak had the idea to scale up a little operation. Stasiak tested it the first time on a man who was a slave laborer, but he had been allowed 2 weeks leave. When those were up, he didn't want to go back. So he met with Stasiak and they agreed, okay, this is not without risk, of course. Very basement type medicine they were doing. not without risk. So the guy, of course, he wanted to stay with his family, so he let himself try this. Worked like a charm. So Stasiak and Lazowski start scaling up this act of trickery, and if you don't realize it, this is majorly dangerous. I mean, first of all, they're fiddling about with typhoid and doing it in a cottage somewhere. It's hard to get inoculations, so who knows who they can infect. There are also actual cases of typhoid which they have to treat. But most of all, of course, doing this right under the nose of the Germans without any kind of, they didn't have support from the Polish army or from the British army or any kind of escape plan. I mean, they just decided to do this at their own peril. But they knew that if the Germans discovered that there was a typhoid epidemic going on in the city, they would stay clear of that city and they wouldn't touch the inhabitants with a 5-foot pole. So they start injecting people with this serum. Positive blood tests. Germans stay away from these people. So this community was pretty much left alone. I think it's of course hard to count these things, but the number I've seen is that they probably saved about 8,000 people, Lazowski and Stasiak. And Stasiak was later moved to the US and he died in 2006. But I mean, wow. This story was it blew my mind when I heard it the first time. Just insane. And if you think about what kind of stories have been turned into movies, this is an actual, real World War II story, which you just can't help wishing that someone would turn into a blockbuster to honor the memory of what Lazowski and Stasiak did. Just can't believe that the courage it would take to act like that. But as I said, his memoirs are horrible, horrible read. I think you can get it as a PDF file on the internet. It takes forever to download. But I don't know if I should encourage you to read it. But you'll enjoy the main part. Yeah, it is actually. I thought, of course, you think about Schindler's List, and this is that's a good story, a great achievement, and a very courageous story. This is too. I mean, we are owed another World War II movie, and I hope someone will make this one. All right. So about halfway. The spin out. The KOM starts at about 17.5, I think, my memory serves. Yeah, you should watch it, Darren. Watch less of me swifting and go watch a classic movie instead. Are there any other World War II movies we should see? Yeah, Jess Lee, right? I know. Insane. I don't know that I am as much of a storyteller as I want to be. I write for a living. But I have this dream about being able to do stories like that justice. There are probably a million untold stories like that. So much potential. So worthy of attention. Yeah, Mark, I know. I mean, just the main plot of them doing this typhoid trick to the Germans, that's a movie in itself. But when you read all those insane little anecdotes, how he almost got killed in a hang gliding accident, and he was so close to being shot and bombed several times. I mean, it's just, he's had a crazy life. I think I read on Wikipedia that some guy actually started making a documentary about 20 years ago, but it doesn't seem to have ever come to fruition. But I don't know. If the guy who did it is out there, I want to see the tapes. I bet you interviewed Mr. Lazowski while he was alive. I would love to get more on that story and to see some images. Yeah, Darren, it's not good for your brain. Substack, yeah, if I had the time, but I definitely won't have time to be on Swift and start writing. Besides the job, I also have to do it most days. Plus, it's really it's frightening to take on that kind of story and to try turning it into something that will be worthy of what he actually did. I'm not saying it would be as courageous as what Lazowski and Stasik did, but you know what I mean. There's nothing like a tortured poet to tell you what is difficult in this world. Speaking of tortured poets, $5Ks left. Can't see the cat's categories on the right anymore. Yeah, Devin, it is. I was just kidding. Of course, the best thing for your brain is to listen to people like me rambling on and yeah, Panula, I've seen his name a lot. I think he's made inside the top 10 of the first stage view, as have you, I believe. Not that it matters too much in these early stages. We're only battling for seconds, and if you continue and complete the series all month, then you'll be losing minutes. Well, some people will be. Most people will be. He is no slouch. What the? What? Looks like Swift. Oh no! What on earth was that? I don't suppose there's any way to get back in this race. Oh no! Looks like I'm not doing the entire series, Lee. Might not even be doing this one. Yeah, it looks like it crashed, guys. Ugh. At least I got to finish the story. Yeah, I imagine there's no way back in when you've been thrown out. That's weird. Never happens. Oh well. Good thing it wasn't a race of any importance. Man. Alright, I might do the Z race in 15 minutes then. I'll probably shut off OBS just to be sure. Well, sorry about that, guys. Hope you enjoyed the story. Nevertheless, have a nice evening.